Originally settled as Ocean View during the 1850s, the city's population boomed with displaced
This is our segment. This is the one we all love.
Good.
That's right. Today we are not cracking a slab. I only bought raw copies. Go to your show, your local show, the comic show, not the one that's all about cosplay, all about people talking in cartoons or starring in movies. But find the ones that have back issues. Look at that. Look at that. Maybe if you're lucky and it's a local one, they might have that. I don't. And Lane, good job. Crack that slab. We're going to talk about an interview that happened with the Davengers comic book show. Show. The guy's name is Dave. He's a very great voice. I love it. Just everything I wish I was as an interviewer. And I think he asked appropriate questions of Matt Nelson of CGC, who had to come out and take some bullets. I don't think there were very many bullets. It was kind of softballs and allowances. And I didn't clip everything, so there is in the description down below, there is the link. So go watch it. But I did excerpt some of the stuff, and I'm going to comment on that as we talk about it. First up, this guy's name is 9.9, like he loves 9.9 books, I guess, is going to say something to Mark.
And, it's not like anyone watching this might realize we're actually just warming up to the conversation together. It's not like we had a bunch of conversation backstage. We're kind of just hitting record and jumping into it. And I hope that's okay with you.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm here to answer the questions that I can and give some transparency on what's been going on. So
I like that his background is blurred as he's talking about transparency. I know the Battle Buddy's going to hate this. Lane's all, I'm sending my stuff. I also have a link to another video that talks about the video game scandal slabbing and how it relates to CGC also and other things. Maybe if there's enough likes, I'll clip that and we'll talk about that next week as a juxtaposition of this. So transparency, awesome. First question.
I wanted to know how was the initial list composed of the books that were posted? I think it was 350 or so.
Yeah. So I can't really explain, how we arrived at the list. It's an ongoing investigation at this time. So I can't share how we determined how the books were impacted, but, we saw trends. We noticed, we immediately started doing an investigation and saw trends, and obviously our reholder service was targeted. And obviously there were certain books that were used in this scheme. So obviously the list that was published, you can see, a handful of books that were, numerous copies on that list. So it seems like it was a very specific group of books to the reholder service by an individual. But we're not aware of any other books that were targeted besides these 350 that we posted a list on.
Yeah, I don't know how we got these lists of books that are sent back into the CGC and mislabeled just on the say so that we screwed up the first time. That's interesting. Yeah, there you go. The 9.9 guy wants to talk about CGC's importance, and he has two parts. This is the very first one.
You say CGC is a protector of the hobby, protector of the community, and that's very much what we want, right? And it's just like, because sometimes people will say, if you guys keep talking about this, what do you want? You want it to go back to raw books? No, that was a foolish thought. We understand why third-party grading exists. And then, first it came out of let's say a necessity to create some sort of, something to trust in. So you don't have to take a seller's word for it. It could be just a hobbyist that only sells every now and then, not necessarily familiar with the ways of restoration, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of books that third-party grading is super important for.
Is it I mean, there's sometimes the only way you can buy something is online, obviously. But man, I always thought like the comic thing is like the hunt, you know? I mean, it's just built differently. Or it's a different type of hunt. I wanted to buy this one comic book in an auction, so there I am doing the same thing. It's CGC slabbed. It was like 9.6, I think. An unimportant Spider-Man, but one I wanted and needed, and I know that like most people slab these Spider-Mans if they're in good enough condition. So chances are I'm not gonna, I didn't see it over at A1. And although I'm not opposed to buying from the comic store that makes variant covers, I don't love it. So they slab a lot of their shit too. So that's the importance of CGC to that guy. I don't think that that's my favorite part of the hobby at all. Like my favorite part of the hobby is getting the comic and reading it. I finished. Oh shit. Let me see. This is the anal retentive part. Okay. So I finished the very first. It took me like 3 days to finish this Hulk. And I was so happy to do that. Who cares about the grade of it? I mean, I don't want to get the heebie-jeebies because I picked up a comic book. And you can totally get those. But you can clean your comic book. There's a way to take care of them these days after the fact. It doesn't need to get slabbed. And, are you just chasing a number? I mean, your dude's name is 9.9. He's your co-host. And his name is, hey, don't read this comic book. That's what his name is from now on. Don't read this comic book. So second importance for don't read this comic book.
And then it just sort of, turned into a part of our community, of our hobby, if you will. And it became fun. People just start grading books because it's a hell of a time to go for the grade. Can we hit the 9.8 on this thing? And then you kind of get lost in the fun of it all, right? Like there was a really serious reason for it to exist, and then it becomes fun, which is brilliant for business, right? Because CGC blossoms into a brand, into an actual something that you perceive in the hobby as an actual brand. The way that you would look at a publisher or something.
9.9 Newsstand. The whole thing that makes, and they talk about it, and it's like kind of infuriating. It's like the whole reason why the Newsstand. So there's a time period when the only thing you get was Newsstand and very few direct market. Those are more important than the Newsstand, even if it's in condition. But when everything was direct market and very little was Newsstand, then Newsstand is worth more because they say so. Of course, it's difficult to get a Newsstand in better condition. Ain't no punk kid at AM/PM or whatever store in whatever, that's open 24/7 that sells gas also gives a shit about comic books that are being shelved. And they're probably reading them, if anything, ruining them, and then just throwing them back on the shelf. Obviously, getting good condition copies of that is impressive. And then you're going to go and slab it. The thing that made it impressive was that it's still in great condition. now, even more than my comics, and I feel seeing a look, they could all get damaged somehow. I mean, obviously, a fire is going to take your CGC comics out. Sorry, maybe not a flood, but it might be bad. There's no assurances in anything. An earthquake can, they got earthquakes everywhere now, thanks to fracking. If you chase the grade, don't you it's only for online selling. But everybody goes to shows with those very same things that they haven't sold online. Oh, look, this shit's slabbed. The only goddamn reason I want it is so that I can have it. And if it's in there, I feel like I can't have it. And if I want it, it's going to cost way too much. And they realize that. Okay, hold on. I don't know if I have everything. They address stuff that I feel addresses what I'm talking about. Or they're kind of saying the quiet stuff out loud.
We're totally open for any idea. We've had a lot of ideas thrown at us privately. Obviously, there's some on the boards. Obviously, a lot of discussion going on internally about that. So, yeah, I welcome any ideas anybody has, for anything going forward.
Sure.
We're always open for suggestions, and not just with the holder, but the website, anything like that, except for the grading. We got that down pat. No. we got that locked up. Some people might disagree.
Yeah. Speaking of disagreeing, that 5.0 Scooby-Doo Where Are You is bullshit that guy had. My buddy Emil and I, good customer, if I was going to shout out any one Patreon member, it might be him. There's plenty of others. But so I would probably like a list of 5, something like that. Instead, I just list everybody. Way easier that way. He and I were looking at that book, and he's the grading expert. Like I bow to him. We have long discussions about what makes a grade and what you can allow. They talk about it in this video about like a 9.9 allow, or a 9.8. Maybe it was a 9.9. I can't remember what it was. Allowing a color break. And they're having a conversation about that. And it's like, we've got a lot of conversation to have about this if we're going to have that. You can't, if you're going to talk grade, it's a nuts and bolts conversation. And I understand there's a lot of people that don't realize it. But man, you're just trying to assume that this thing is going to increase in value, and especially because of that, there's a revolution of comic collectors out there. They're small. Break those slabs open, people. Battle Buddy's okay. You're excluded. Lane, you're excluded. But even still, I understand if it's like an art piece, but there's a thing that BCW is selling. Maybe I'll do an example of that next week. It's kind of cool. It's not as slicked out as a CGC special, bannered, oh shit. This shit. They do oh look, I got these are just the plain ones, and then they'll have spider. Well, that's CBCS, but you know what I mean. And then they'll have Spider-Man and a New York landscape or something like that. Oh, this was signed by somebody. It's a different label, and stuff like that. So they've got the grading covered. Let's have a little laugh about that.
If you hadn't said that right after this after we started recording, I was going to show you a couple of things. I wanted to get your second opinion.
Oh yeah. Oh, there will always be dissent till the end of the earth. There will always be dissent on grade.
Then what good is CGC? What good are you if there's always dissent? You even understand that there is a possibility within your own organization that one person isn't going to grade what another person is. We all have allowances when we're looking at books. Oh, that doesn't matter to me. Some people roll up their freaking comic books and put them in their back pocket. God bless you for doing that. And fuck you. You look like an asshole doing that. Whoops, that was the F word I wanted for the episode. That's for the parents that aren't watching. That's that guy was going to show him after the show. Like, I love when I do it. It's like saying, "Oh, I'm just joking." I understand it's lame. I can't help it. I'm stuck in my ways. But saying that you were going to do something instead backstage, it's like you were going to do it backstage and then you said it here that you were going to do it. If he hadn't said that, you said that if he hadn't, let me just play that one more time.
If you hadn't said that right after after we started recording, I was going to show you a couple of things.
What? Why would you say that? I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I understand. Like, I feel like I get starstruck when like Joe Casey's on, when Kari Andrews was on, other people. I try and keep it down to earth, and that's why I'd say the stupid jokes I stay. But I don't think I think this is I was thinking this is kind of softball. This guy was allowed to speak and he was allowed to say what he was saying, and a lot of it wasn't anything, and it was like company line type stuff that you'd expect. The host says this.
So books get sold on countless platforms, right? But some of the biggest ones are a corporation structured, so they have structure. Are you guys working with Heritage and eBay, any of the Instagram consigners, Comic Link, Comic Connect, to try and kind of raise awareness to maybe the buyers? Because eBay's anonymous to everybody except eBay. Heritage is anonymous to everybody except Heritage. So are you working with them to try and reach out to people that might have bought books on the platform that came from this list?
Yeah, I can't disclose who we're working with, but we are communicating with a number of third parties in this investigation. So yeah, I can't name names, but sure, everyone, the people are definitely working with us. Like the collectors, I think a lot of people understand the gravity of the situation. Even though we're talking about 350 books out of 10 million collectibles graded by CGC, it's minuscule.
Remember, it was like a YouTuber or an Instagram, maybe even that guy that was with Dave, the Davengers. I think he was talking about comparing things. That was not anything that CGC did. Nothing. And we're very confident. We do 10 million things. You told me that you did 10 million things. Is that a selling point? I mean, if I don't know, if like McDonald's cared about Supersize Me, well, they did. They changed their drinks. I don't know if I'd sell that. I don't think that was. Anyway, he goes on to threaten the guy that did that, threaten all the people that might do that. I think in this next one he talks about. This is the last one, by the way. I think he talks about like what he'll. Shit's gonna happen
going forward. Any other safeguards that we're going to see in place? Things to be. I know you can't be fully transparent with everything that CGC does on the inside, but to me personally, my biggest concern is sometimes a lack of transparency of why this happened, how this happened, how all those questions: the who, what, when, where, and why. But anything else you can speak to on going forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's this situation, even though it involves a small number of books and one individual, it's obviously a very serious situation. This was a very sophisticated and deceptive tampering that was going on, and we intend on prosecuting this individual to the fullest extent of the law. And I think obviously because that's the right thing to do, it also sends a message to the community that CGC is not going to allow its service to be taken advantage of to defraud collectors.
I like it. I wish you would have said, and CGC is not a dupe. So that was everything I just said. I don't like. Unfortunately, Dave is trying to get some real answers from him, and anytime he asks them, dude, I can't really say. So then at the very last one that I've clipped, he says, I know you're not really allowed to talk, but and he doesn't say anything. I'm very dissatisfied with this interview. And I don't know if it's necessarily because of the hosts. Maybe it would have been a little bit better if it was just a one-on-one situation. I don't know. There's your drama. There's your real drama. Something that really affects comic book collecting. I guess I'll just play that. Do I have it again? Yeah, I do. I'll just play it one more time.
Good. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, think about subscribing and maybe give us a thumbs up too.